we seem to be entering a second space race. Here are 10 of the most significant and curious space missions taking place in 2019. Number 10. New Horizons. On the furthest edge of the solar system lies the Kuiper Belt. Comprised of icy comets, asteroids, and dwarf planets, it is believed to contain the debris from the formation of our solar system. In January 2019, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft traveled 1.6 billion kilometers beyond Pluto to become the first probe to make contact with an object in the Kuiper Belt. The object is called Ultima Thule. NASA hopes that investigating this relatively small chunk of rock will unlock secrets about the origins of the Milky Way. Number 9. Breakthrough Initiatives. Before his death in March 2018, physicist Stephen Hawking spoke passionately about the necessity for mankind to migrate into space. He believed that unless we populate other planets, the human race will risk being wiped out by climate change, asteroids, disease, or war. In 2019, the private Russian-American venture Breakthrough Initiatives will begin the search for a new homeworld at our nearest star, Alpha Centauri. With the assistance of the European Southern Observatory, Breakthrough Initiatives says it wants to demonstrate a proof of concept for an ultra-fast solar-powered nanocraft which could theoretically reach speeds of up to 100,000 kilometers per hour. This could reach Alpha Centauri 20 years after launch. Number 8. Chandrayaan-2. On the 14th of November 2008, the Indian spacecraft Chandrayaan-1 released a moon impact probe which deliberately crashed into the lunar South Pole. Just over a decade later, on the 31st of January 2019, Chandrayaan-2 is returning to the moon, this time with a more controlled landing. The first Chandrayaan made headlines by discovering water molecules on the moon's surface. The second could be the first step in Indian ambitions in space, according to Kailasavadevu Sivan of the Indian Space Research Organization. These ambitions include greatly expanding India's presence in space. This in turn would lead to, according to journalist Rajeswari Pillai Rajagopalan, a seat at the high table of global governance of outer space. However, China, Russia, Europe, and the US are all competing for real estate in space. As Jan Warner, Director General of the European Space Agency, states, we need new legal restrictions in order to safeguard missions and prevent them from falling prey to earth-bound politics. Number 7. PT Scientists. India is far from alone in launching an expedition to the moon. PT Scientists is a privately financed German team who plan to launch a lunar mission in 2019. They intend to land near the Apollo 17 rover. Officially, they want to investigate the corrosive effect of the moon's atmosphere. The initial rovers will be followed by a flotilla of spacecraft on a launch cycle of every 18 to 24 months. In addition to exploring further in the Taurus Littrow region of the moon, PT scientists hope to reveal why man hasn't returned in nearly 50 years. Number 6. Blue Origin. Blue Origin, the suborbital flight company owned by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, will start selling tickets for space tourism in 2019. Blue Origin Senior Vice President Rob Meyerson anticipates test flights will begin soon. Prices have yet to be finalized, but Meyerson is already looking ahead to future projects. We believe setting up colonies on the moon is the next logical step. However, Blue Origin's ambitions pose worrying questions about whether humanity's expansion into space should be driven by profit instead of curiosity. According to Robert Frost, a flight controller at NASA, the financial priorities of the private sector would restrict the scientific endeavors that broaden mankind's knowledge of the great beyond.
Need room to breathe? Need time to chill? Get away from it all. Take time for you. Visit Europa.
Yeah, sadly that's not a real advert. But I would like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsor, Dashlane. Now, I'm thrilled they're sponsoring us because, as you can guess, security and privacy are big concerns of mine, and I use dozens of different passwords across many accounts online because having many unique passwords is much safer than using the same password for everything, whether it's bank details or email or whatever. But if you're like me, you'll struggle to keep track of them all, so I use Dashlane to help. It stores and manages all my passwords in a fully encrypted security architecture, and it automatically generates unique, strong passwords for all my accounts. Better still, it alerts whenever an account has been breached, so you can seal it off and create a new password straight away. It works on Windows, Mac, Android, and iOS, and best of all, it's free! So I recommend you head over to dashlane.com/alltimeconspiracies to check it out. And to upgrade to Dashlane Premium, we've arranged a 10% discount for anyone using the link in the description below. Number 5. ExoMars 2020. Despite a tense political climate, the European Space Agency and Russian Roscosmos joint project ExoMars 2020 is still on course. It is due to have selected a landing site on Mars by the middle of 2019. Among its many duties, the ExoMars probe is expected to discover whether or not the red planet has ever harbored life, and whether or not it could support it again. The recommended landing site is Oxia Planum, which lies just north of the equator. According to the ESA, it holds a rich record of the planet's wetter past. ExoMars scientist Jorge Vajo says, "We are on a quest to find biosignatures and opportunities to explore ancient water-rich environments that could have been colonized by microorganisms. If ExoMars finds conditions suitable for supporting microorganisms, it could bolster claims by geomicrobiologist Barry DiGregorio that NASA has deliberately suppressed evidence of life on the red planet." Number 4. Fedor. Space exploration has always relied on non-human test subjects. However, in 2019, the Russian space industry will send humanoid robots to the International Space Station. The android, known as Final Experimental Demonstration Object Research, or FEDOR, will pilot a Soyuz spacecraft to the ISS. However, Fedor is not an ordinary android. It is an artificially intelligent machine that was first built and trained to shoot guns. Former Russian Deputy Prime Minister and current head of Roscosmos, Dmitry Rogozhin, says, "We are not creating a Terminator, but artificial intelligence that will be of great practical significance in various fields." Yet, rumor has it that Russia plans to send Fedor on solo missions to the moon in years to come. Number 3. Artificial meteors. Japanese startup ALE is the first company to specialize in customized artificial meteor showers. Their first test will happen in March 2019. The mission will launch 2 microsatellites, each carrying 400 chemical pellets. They will stay in low Earth orbit for nearly a year before activating above Hiroshima in February 2020. The mission will cost ALE over $20 million, but they plan to recoup this by selling commercial rights to private bidders. Officially, the artificial meteors are just for entertainment, but in theory they could hit satellites in low Earth orbit and trigger a cascade effect that could wipe out our entire communications infrastructure. ALE says the risk of this accidentally happening is only 1 in 100 million. Number 2. Tianqin. In 1916, Albert Einstein predicted the existence of gravitational waves in his general theory of relativity. These ripples in the fabric of space-time carry enormous energy at the speed of light and are generated by cataclysmic events that hint at the very nature of gravity itself. In 2019, China plans to launch the first satellite in a program to detect and investigate this phenomenon. The program, named Tianqin, or Harp in the Sky, uses 3 satellites equipped with high-precision laser interferometry to measure any changes in the distance between them. Yet, US House Armed Services Strategic Forces Subcommittee Chairman Mike Rogers says, "War in space is going to happen, and projects like Tianqin display just how far behind America is in this new arms race." Number 1. Deep Space Gateway. It has been nearly 5 decades since America last sent men to the moon. Remarkably, NASA's 2019 budget includes a project to build an orbital space station above the lunar surface by 2028. This could be the first step in another manned mission to Mars. The proposed Deep Space Gateway will require significantly more resources than NASA can generate. In comparison, the ISS cost $125 billion. And that was a multinational effort. Their plan is for the first platforms facilitating power and propulsion to be in place by 2022. But China has already announced plans to build a complete moon base in 2025. In light of this, former astronaut Eileen Collins says NASA is not being ambitious enough. She says, 2028 for humans on the moon seems like it's far off. We can do it sooner. The race is on. What major discoveries do you think these missions will find in outer space? Please let me know in the comments below. And thank you again to our Patreon sponsors whose names you can see on screen right now. If you enjoyed this, then please check out more of our videos and consider checking out our podcast over on Spotify, iTunes and Google Podcasts. See you next time.